right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, just going into in due season, man. In due season, because one of the main attributes, okay, dealing with salvation, is patience. Matter of fact, I want to start off there. Okay, let's get there in the book of Luke. All right, chapter 21. I want to say is verse 18 or verse 19. Okay, it said Luke 21 and 19. It says, "In your patience, all right, possess ye your souls." Okay, and patience. What is patience? It's the ability to suffer. Okay, until you get the desired outcome. You know, so we are in circumstances that requires us to suffer, and the desired outcome is the kingdom. And the Lord puts us in small situations to where we have to suffer to a desired outcome. Overall, is training our minds, to suffer unto the kingdom. So the Lord put us in situations in our day to day, to where we have to suffer for a time and go through a particular time till we get the desired outcome, all right, that we want, okay? And it's just conditioning us to ultimately suffer for the desired outcome of the kingdom, so it's in our patience, because a lot of people that go back into the world, that come into their truth and go into the world, is because they didn't have the patience. They got tired of the suffering. They're going to camp, every week, sacrificing those Saturdays, you know, um, being, having the expectation of teaching and researching and learning and reading and, fellowshipping, because this is our life, and if, if our mind is not set, okay, that look, we not moving, we not going nowhere, Lord willing, it can become a thing where it can be burdensome, man. Okay, the scriptures speak about, how the truth, can be like a stone, you know, they call it burdensome stone, okay, or a burdensome trial, you know, because it's a daily trial, you know, and let me see. Yep. So to go here, it's the book of Sirach, chapter 6, okay, in verse 20. Matter of fact, you know, I started at 17. All right, it said, "Whosoever feareth the Lord shall direct his friendship aright, for as he, so shall his neighbor be also. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom in thy old age." Because we come in, as babes, you know. The scripture liken us to what? To newborn babes. So we come into this thing as babes, and we begin to gather instructions, on how to live in righteousness, how to be pleasing to our power. And it's a thing of patience. It's something that doesn't come overnight. It comes with that constant, repetition, of getting this instruction, man. And then we begin to see the benefits of wisdom. Okay? And there's a thing of suffering. You gotta learn to suffer in this thing. And that's where the patience comes in, that a lot of our people, a lot of the people that do fall out, you know, they lose patience. Their patience just goes out the window. Okay? They have this mindset like they're missing out, what they call FOMO, fear of missing out, you know. And it says, "Come unto her," all right, "as one that ploweth and soweth." And see, that's labor. You gotta really dig into this thing. You really gotta plow and toil and wrestle in this thing, man. You know, this is a labor. You see, and it's a repetition, man. Hey, greatness. To a lot of people, greatness is boring. That's why a lot of people are not great. Because of the patience that it takes to be great, the repetition, the repetitiveness that it takes to be great in anything, man. No matter what you do, okay, whether you're a carpenter, or athlete, you see, a fighter, whatever. You see, there's this constant repetition, okay. But then in due season, the repetition begins to play off. It begins to pay off, okay. And we use all these worldly analogies, okay, for the ultimate payoff, which is the reward of the kingdom. But it's constantly sowing and plowing in righteousness, man. Okay, and then in due season, at the return of Yahushua, we're going to reap. Okay, and the Lord allows us to plow in His wisdom and then reap the benefits from the wisdom now. The Lord gives us incentives in this thing to keep going as we're plowing and sowing and toiling and working, man. Okay, when it says, "Come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth, and wait." You see, and wait. You see, and wait for her good fruits, for thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon, man. So it's a process of toiling and plowing, and then waiting on that increase. You know, you see, the Lord gonna give us the increase, like Apostle Paul. Talked about how he planted Apollo's water, but the Most High gave the increase. See, the increase is from the Most High. And that's another thing. We're not here to try to force an increase, okay? Just let the increase happen, because when we operate within the will of Yahweh Bashim outside and how he wants things to flow, he's building us up for the next phase, man. He's always building us up for the next phase, okay? So trying to rush things, okay, trying to increase yourself, trying to force the increase, man, it'll go bad. You see, in due season, be patient. That's something I'm learning, because I was a brother that, had to go get a spirit and go make it happen, you know. And then what I'm learning is be patient and follow the Lord lead. Just keep being occupied in what He has in front of us, and let Him increase how He wants to increase. Let Him level us up how He wants to level us up. Okay? Let the Lord come in and do what He's going to do in these situations and circumstances, man. We're just occupied with what's right in front of us and being patient as we do it, man. Okay? And it says, reading on, and it says, "Come unto her as one that plowed and sowed and waited for her good fruits. For thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon. She is very unpleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain in her." Okay? So this wisdom, which requires discipline, is unpleasant to the unlearned. Okay? Because it takes wisdom to understand the benefits of discipline. See, if you're not operating in wisdom, discipline is just unnecessary, hardship. It's boring. Okay? It's a burden. Which, hey, that's part of being disciplined, doing what you gotta do even when it's a burden. Okay? That's a part of discipline, man. You see, and it's building us into being pleasing to our power. Okay, to being those acceptable sons of the Most High. Okay, those joint heirs with Yahushua. Okay, we got to be built a certain way, and the Lord is always, refining us, man, through hardships, through setbacks, through patience, through disappointments, through betrayals. Okay, he's refining us, man. He constantly got us in that fire, all right, and then he constantly cooling us down and putting us back in that fire. Okay, you see, he's modifying his sons to his likeness, man. Okay, to fit the mold of Yahushua. All right. And Yahweh Shai, when he came, you know, as Yahweh Shai himself, he had to apply patience, man. Okay, he couldn't act off impulse. You see, that life wasn't about him. Okay, it was something bigger. Okay, he knew that what he was doing was bigger than him. Okay, and he says, verse 21, she will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial, and he will cast her from him ere it be long. Yeah, so this wisdom, I say, it comes with, all right, discipline. It comes with having to be patient. You see, it comes with taking the low. Okay, it comes with certain times you gotta turn the other cheek to situations. You know, and that can be burdensome, man. You know, so when those that lose patience, they cast it off. And that's why you see brothers that fall out. They go back into the world, and now they got all this energy out of nowhere. You had to beg them to do a video or a live stream, but now their Facebook feed is off the chain. Okay, all this energy because this was a burden to them. Okay, they didn't realize, they didn't really understand the concept of what they were part of. Okay, and there's no way that we can come into this thing and really believe and then go back out unless we never believe, man. Okay, and that's why this truth is a scary thing, man, because the Lord, have taken men out. Okay, that the body just knew for sure that these men were solid. Okay, but they just keep us, humble. All right, and keep us occupied. Okay, and what we need to be doing, man. Okay, and this ain't the time to flirt with Babylon, man. This is the time to fully be sowing into, all right, eternal things, man. The Lord has given us the privilege to sow into eternal things. Okay, everything around us is fading away. Everything is failing around us, man. Everything is fading away. Everything is played out. So the Lord has given us the opportunity to have the heads up of what's to come, so we can sow into eternity, man. While these people sow into death, sow into a destruction that's to come. Okay, when you go into the book of Galatians, all right, chapter 6. It's the book of Galatians, chapter 6. Okay, in verse 7, it says, "Be not deceived, the Most High is not mocked. For whatsoever man soweth, that shall he reap." Okay, so the Most High is not mocked. All right, because people look at it as, okay, they've been hearing about the end for so long, and then you have all these crises that happen and things go back to normal. So people's mind is made, look, I'm gonna just focus on right now. In this world, it's extremely foolish to sow into, okay, the kingdom. A kingdom that we believe to come after this kingdom. It's foolish to sow into that right now in this world. That's how they look at it, man. You know, so they look at what we're doing as foolish, man. That's why scriptures say this, Wisdom of Solomon 3. All right, this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon. All right, chapter 3 and verse 1. It said, "But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of the Most High, and there shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken from misery." Yeah, so these people look at us, because of course, when things, get to a climax, you're gonna have brothers, believers that's gonna have to, die for the faith. And people are gonna look at that as a foolish sacrifice, man. You die for, the mess y'all was teaching on the corner, he gonna die for that. Okay? But they don't understand, they don't see the vision. Okay, they don't have faith. So of course it's gonna be foolish. If you don't have faith, yeah, it's gonna be foolish to you, man. Okay? Why I say the preaching of the gospel is foolish to those that are going to perish. Okay? So someone that's all right, predestined to be destroyed by this judgment that's coming, you know, through Jacob's trouble, through the missiles, through the war, whatever it might be. If you're predestined, all right, you predestinated to be judged, okay, within this current world, then what we're saying is going to be foolish to you. It's supposed to. All right, it's supposed to be foolish, man. Okay, it says, and they're good, and they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace. So even now, you know, because we're dead to this world, and people look at us, you know, some brothers had certain things going on, and they just abandoned it, man. You know, some brothers on the way to doing, you know, particular things, and they abandoned these things and became dead to it. And folks look at that like, man, what's going on with that guy? You know, and then they look at our lives from the outside looking in, like he must be miserable, man. You know, like Jay say, he don't grow a beard, he don't get no line anymore. Okay, they don't understand we're dead to this world, and they don't understand we have peace. See, you people are more depressed than ever, more stressed out than ever, and it's only gonna get worse. But we're at peace. Okay, the same news that makes you depressed, we get joy from it. We at peace, man. Okay, you know, we're not in the midst of the crowd. We're in peace, man. We're not in misery. You know, it just seems strange that, you know, we did the Irish exit and left those old circles we used to hang in. Okay, the old places we used to be in. It seems strange to them. Okay, but we understand fully what it is because Yahweh Shai has brought us to the light. Okay, so going back to verse 5, it says, verse 4, this is the point. It said, for though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality, man. Because we finna be put out, you know, as the enemies of the earth. We finna be put out as outcasts, man. But it says, yet shall their hope be in immortality, man. So our hope is in immortality. You see, we have an expectation that these people can't fathom, man. Okay? These people that's chasing the bag and popular and celebrities and, you know, hood celebrities, internet celebrities, whatever, you know, however, whatever. Okay? They don't have an expectation of immortality, man. Okay? Their expectation in the newest Ferrari, okay? Instagram models and, you know, being seen. And see, that's their expectation. Okay? So we have an expectation that's way beyond that, man. And this is what we're plowing and sowing into, man, our expectation, man. All right? Because no one goes out there and just starts to plant a field, you know, goes through the process of buying the seeds, okay, tilling the ground, getting the ground ready, planting the seed, watering it, cultivating it, okay, without any expectation, man. We have an expectation, man. And that's why we constantly go through the process. So people laughing at the process, man. Okay? Until they see the reward. You see? So in due season, the Lord's going to grant us immortality. He's going to grant us with these rewards. Okay? So um, it says, verse 5, it says, and having been a little chastened, they shall be greatly rewarded. All right? And it said they shall be greatly rewarded. All right? And prove, all right, for the Most High proved them and found them worthy for himself, man. So this is our time to be found worthy, man, to be proven. We're going through a phase of being proven, okay? You see, this is what this thing is about, man, us teaching and us being refined until Yahweh shall get back. And the Lord provide our daily wants, our daily needs, and, you know, our necessities, all right, even a few wants. And that's all we can ask for, man. Nothing less, nothing more, man. And with that, man, we able to be, you know, we able to pour into this thing. You know, he gives us health and strength to pour into this, man, to be about this. Okay? And we're gonna reap everything in due season. Okay? Let's go here. Um, go back. to the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 8. It says, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. Okay? So we're getting ready to reap life everlasting because we're sowing to the Spirit. You know, if you're just sowing to the flesh, you know, your day, your life is all about you waking up and pleasing your flesh from the moment you wake up till you go to sleep. You're just sowing to the flesh. Okay? Because when we sow to the Spirit, you know, because what is sowing to the Spirit, man? Praying, fasting, teaching. Because when you're teaching, you're edifying the believers about the kingdom to come. So you're pouring into, okay, the Spirit, all right, and you're investing into the kingdom that's to come. And it's going to be an eternal kingdom. So investing in the eternal kingdom is going to come with an eternal reward. It's going to be an eternal harvest. It's going to be a harvest that never stops giving. Okay? But sowing to the flesh, pretty soon it's going to stop. Because this world, this age is going to end. Because sowing to the flesh is sowing to this world, to this age. Trying to get this going, that going, clout, you know, popular. And all, you just sowing to this world. And when this world is going to be destroyed. So the only thing that you sold to was things that were destined to be destroyed, man. The elements melting with fervent heat. Okay? But we sowing to the Spirit. We're sowing into a kingdom that's never going to be destroyed. You see? The scripture tells us that the kingdom we're sowing to will never be destroyed. Okay? Let's get that. They say it in two places in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. All right, Daniel 7 and 13. It says, I saw in the night vision and beheld one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. All right, so this is Yahushua being brought to the Ancient of Days, which is the Most High. Okay, and it says, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people and nations should serve him, and his dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom which that shall not be destroyed, man. This is what we're sowing into. A kingdom that's not going to be destroyed. This is what we're pouring into. Okay? This is what we're giving our time, energy, and resources and our focus to is this, man. Okay? Something that'll never be destroyed. You see? So let's go back from there. Let's get this in the book of go back into the book of Galatians 6. You see, that's what it means to sow into the Spirit, man. We're sowing into something that's everlasting, eternal. Okay? We do what we got to do here to maintain, but leaning into this thing, nah, man, it's over with. All right, so reading this in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9. All right, and closing it out. And let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. You know, so we can't get weary in well doing. You know, it's not going to be fair. You know, the Lord has us going through these unfair situations now because we come to the time where it's going to be more unfair than ever. Look what Yahushua went through. It wasn't fair. So we can't expect fairness from the devil. Okay? This is Satan's world. It's not going to be fair, but we can't get weary when it comes to well doing, man. We got to keep doing the right thing, man, until we deliver it out of here, man. Striving lawfully, man. Okay? That's the conditions of the battle. You see, and it's wearisome to the flesh, you know, but the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. That's why we got to lean into the Spirit. We got to sow into the Spirit, okay? Because this flesh gets weary, you see. But the weak, the spirit, you know, is invigorated, man. You know, to do this, man. You know, so that's the point. You know, Lord will, you know, you brothers and you sisters stay strong. You know, may you brothers and sisters continue, you know, to send up those prayers, and those prayers be answered. We be strengthened in the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. You know, may the Lord allow us, you know, to serve our great King Yahweh Shai until he return. You know, so Lord will, you brothers and you sisters edify till next time. Stay shalom.